Hey everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be talking about the books that I want to read this January. I don't remember the last time I did a monthly TBR. Maybe I did one in October, I don't know. But I don't remember the last time I did one in a vlog or something. Listen, it doesn't matter, but I also have never filmed on this side of things, but because I'm wearing purple, I felt like it seemed appropriate. We're just changing things up. But I have big reading plans for January as per usual. I kind of ended off last year not really reading a ton. I don't know why. I kind of was reading Christmassy books and then I burnt myself out from that a little bit. But now we are getting back into reading again, which is really lovely. So I will start off with my current read, which is City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. I'm probably about halfway through this one, and it is set in the 1940s, and it is following this girl who has always been kind of like a little bit different. That makes it seem like I'm describing her as like a manic pixie dream girl, but it's not that. She just hasn't fit into her mother's idea of like society and her family or anything. She is rebellious for a woman in the 1940s, which doesn't really take much. So she ends up being sent to live with her aunt, and her aunt has this theater and it's following her and like all these showgirls. She's basically living in the 1940s in New York City and learning about like life and what it is to be a woman, being exposed to kind of the more racy things that maybe her mother wishes she wouldn't be. But like I said, about halfway through it, it is really interesting. It's definitely immersing me in the time period. This is actually by the author of Eat, Pray, Love, which is interesting. And I have another self-help book. I have Big Magic by this author. So I am kind of intrigued. Like, I know both of those are more self-help, or like, I think that Eat, Pray, Love is technically biography. I am trying to remember where it was shelved when I worked at the bookstore, but that is besides the point. It just seems like this is a very different read than both of those. I don't know if it's her first novel, but I am liking it so far. I'm not like 100% sold on it, but I'm intrigued. Since I've actually started reading self-help books this year, I do have some that I will talk to you about at the end of the video that I'm planning on reading this next month. But the next book that I'm hoping to read this month is Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. So this is the first adult novel by YA author Elizabeth Acevedo. She has written some of my favorite books, honestly. She is such an incredible writer, so I am really excited for this one. It is following a Dominican family, and it's, I believe, like set throughout their life and everything, kind of leading up to this big life-changing event, but it's told from the perspective of the woman of that family. So it seems very intriguing. I'm just honestly sold on anything Elizabeth Acevedo, so I'm looking forward to this one. Next is Winter Garden by Kristen Hanna, which I have not in fact read. When I did my favorites of the year list, I thought that I had read this one, but I read, it's not the Summer Garden. It's something Summer Island maybe? I truly cannot for the life of me remember. However, that is besides the point. I have had this one for so long and have included it on like 6 million different TBRs around winter, like winter TBRs, winter month TBRs, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. I don't know why, because this definitely sounds like really up my alley. It is like kind of historical fiction. It's told between then and now, so it's alternating, which I really love. And it's daughters hearing the story of their mother like growing up in war-torn Russia, and it just sounds like it's going to probably be really emotional because Kristen Hanna, I would expect no less, but I'm hoping that I will really like it and hoping I finally freaking get to it. Next is The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. So I don't admittedly have a ton of romance on this TBR, and that's because I feel like I never really know what kind of romance I'm going to be in the mood for until it comes to that moment. So I don't really have thoughts about what romances I'm going to read, if that makes sense. I don't know why, but also I feel like I'm not really in the romancy mood right now, so then it's hard for me to pick out some that I would like to read. But this is one that I have been dying to get to. It has been out for a while, and I've actually already read a book by this author, but I would say that this is her most popular book, and it seems like such a fun concept. It is this like reality dating show that is being filmed, and it is a romance between the producer and the contestant, like the not contestant, but the main person on that reality dating show. Why am I having such a hard time describing this? I don't know, but it is a male-male romance. It just sounds absolutely adorable, and I've heard amazing things about it. Next is The First Bright Thing by J.R. Dawson. I have quite a few different circusy books that are on my TBR because I always am looking forward to a circusy read. A lot of times they don't live up to my expectations, but sometimes they do, and those are always a delight for me. This one seems very interesting because it's the circus of misfits, and from my understanding there's also like this rival circus, so it's kind of a story between the two of them, and it's also set in a similar time period to City of Girls, so it seems very intriguing. Next is Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo, because no, I still have not read this book. I've had this for so freaking long. You know what? I should also try and finish Kingdom of Ash this month since I haven't read that one. I still have not finished the Throne of Glass series, but Rule of Wolves, for some reason, the world, it just always makes me want to read it during winter. Don't know. But this is the sequel to King of Scars, so it is set in the Grishaverse, and it is following Nikolai, who is my favorite ever. I love him so much, and King of Scars was really interesting, left on an interesting note, so I feel like I definitely should be picking this one up soon. I don't know why, like, I just wait for the perfect time, but there is no perfect time. The time is now. Next is Hello Beautiful by Anne why can't I read that? Napolitano. That was a journey. I have seen this book around, heard some really amazing things about it, and that has just, I'm kind of buying into the hype here, to be honest. I feel like during the beginning of the year, I always want to read something that is going to set my year off on the right note, because I kind of had a streak there where the first book that I read every year ended up on my favorites of the year list, and I think last year I also read one in January that I ended up loving, but that is besides the point. I guess my point is I feel like this is the one that maybe will be like, wow, like I love this book so much, this is definitely going to be a great reading year. It's about a family, and it says on the back, can love make a broken person whole? So it is supposed to be a rich, complex family saga, a portrait of love and grief in equal measure. Sounds like it's going to be emotional, but we'll see. Definitely like a different sort of read for me. Another kind of different sort of read is The Librarianist by Patrick DeWitt. This is supposed to be a book that shows kind of like the extraordinary and life seemingly ordinary moments. It's following a man who has dedicated his entire life to literature. He loves books, and it's just kind of him as like an older man, I believe. I'm honestly not so sure what to make of this one. The cover and the title are definitely what drew me in, so hopefully it'll be good. Next is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. So this is the first book in the Nightborn duet. This was pretty hyped up on TikTok, I believe, and that is why I picked it up. And it's supposed to be for fans of like Court of Thorns and Roses, Cruel Prince, all of that stuff, but it is with vampires, and I have not read a vampire book in a very long time. I literally can't even think of another one except for Twilight, but I'm sure that there's one that I've read in between then. I mean, The Mortal Instruments had vampires, but I haven't read that in a really long time. Anyways, this is supposed to be really good. I've heard great things on TikTok, so we shall see. I guess winter also brings a fantasy mood for me, because I also have on here The Encyclopedia of Fairies by Emily Wilde. This is supposed to be very good. I've heard amazing things about it, and I know that fairies have been like the it thing right now, so I feel like people would be quite critical of fairy reads too. I don't really know what to make of this one. I honestly just got my copy in the mail. So it says on the back of it, a curmudgeonly professor journeys. I got really thrown off by the word curmudgeonly. I was like, I'm gonna say that and it's gonna be like I always say it, but then I just got very messed up. Anyways, journeys to a small town in the far north to study fairy folklore and discovers dark fae magic, friendship, and love in the start of a new, heartwarming, and enchanting fantasy series. That sounds fun. Oh wait, the author isn't Emily Wilde, that's the character. I thought that she named it after herself. Okay, the author is Heather Fawcett. I'm just stupid. So it is Emily Wilde, Encyclopedia of Fairies. That makes a lot more sense. And the final fiction book I have on here is Defiant by Brandon Sanderson. This is the fourth and I believe final book to the Skyward series, which I started right when it came out and ended up surprisingly loving, because I'm not super into sci-fi, but this series is just so much fun. I didn't love the most recent book as much, so I'm hoping that I will really, really like this one. we'll see, but I'm very nervous, but I'm hoping I'll like it. And finally, I have 5 self-help books here. So actually the first one is the one that I'm currently reading, so it's downstairs right now, but that is Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett. And this is just about exactly what it sounds like, designing your life. It's how to live like a well-lived, joyful life. I'm not so sure about this one yet, but I'm giving it a chance. I know pretty early on if I'm going to end up finishing a self-help book or not. Next is The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. So this is by, I believe he's like a record producer or something. I'm not entirely sure, but this has been like everywhere as being a really good book for creatives and igniting your creativity. And I feel like that's something that I have been needing lately, so it's definitely sticking out to me. Next is Saving Time, Discovering a Life Beyond the Clock by Jenny Odell. This is all about discovering life beyond the clock, basically. I feel like my life is often ruled by like time and feeling like I don't have enough of it, and I really want to get out of that mindset, so I'm hoping this book can help me with that. I also am wanting to reread Atomic Habits by James Clear. I've reread this one like 3 times, but I'm feeling like it's time for another reread where I actually do the exercises in it, because I have a bunch of habits that I'm trying to implement into my life right now, and I feel like I'm doing a good job, but I mean, this book will just help to kind of like refresh my memory and make my habits that much better. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I've heard some amazing things about. I was like looking for books kind of about self-discipline because that is something I struggle with so freaking much, and this one came up quite a bit. So Master Your Mind and Defy the Odds. It is, I believe, talking about like his own experiences and how he just has completely like changed his life. So that sounds interesting. And conversely, I have The Power of Fun, How to Feel Alive Again by Catherine Price. This is basically about fun and like finding fun again and how we are kind of disconnected from that. And I am definitely interested in that. So yeah, so those are all of the books that I am hoping to read in January. I feel like it's going to be a pretty solid reading month for me, I hope. I'm definitely getting off to the right foot with reading again, and I'm very excited about that. Obviously, this is just kind of like the tip of the iceberg because I'm such a mood reader. I just kind of go with whatever I'm feeling in the moment. But please let me know what you are planning on reading in January because I would love to know. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in another new one soon. I'm not used to filming on this side of the room and I keep getting distracted by the window. But yeah, bye!